welcome in loyal Blackhawk hockey fans. It's the second balcony with your pals Greg and Frank. Episode number 19, the Troy Murray episode.
There you go.
Very appropriate after hockey fights cancer last night.
Yeah, I was thinking of him too. I saw a lot of people holding signs up for him. Both Muzz and Bernie were getting a lot of love, and they both deserve it.
Absolutely. I filled out my sign for Mark Bernard. They put a nice little video package for Troy Murray at the first TV timeout, and then showed the radio crew and the broadcast crew holding up their signs. Very touching moment. We definitely miss Troy at the rink, and we know, he's battling hard, and it's got to be not great if he's been away from the rink as long as he has, but he's truly missed. He's a great guy. I think since being on the beat, being able to call Troy Murray a friend is like one of my coolest career accomplishments because he's such an awesome guy, and definitely thinking of Mark Bernard too. He's another terrific human being who's always been nothing but kind to me. So those are the people that stick out to you in life. Second balcony, we're back. It's been a couple of weeks. Hit subscribe, hit like, share, all that fun stuff. Let's try and get to 500 subscribers before the Olympics start. I think we're like 60 away. So tell your friends.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Tell your enemies.
Yeah, even better. You know, if you think we suck, tell everybody you hate to listen to us and punish them for sucking towards you.
Now, before we get into our usual dumb fuckery, there is one little downer we should probably talk about, and that is Terry Boers, who, even if you've never met him, he's a friend of yours.
Mm-hmm.
One of those people just so woven into the fabric of Chicago, so woven into the fabric of Chicago sports, and just one of those people like you never heard a bad word about him. So,
absolutely.
If
you go back and watch the end of the post-game, the CHGO post-game show after Friday night's game against Tampa, the night we got the news, Terry Boers had passed away. Jay and I talked about him for about 5 minutes. Of course, Jay Zawaski worked with him for over 20 years. And Terry was a huge influence on me. He was one of the biggest reasons I wanted to become a sports writer. As a kid, reading his columns in the papers, and then he was an original at the Score. Those early days of the Score, they changed the way sports were covered, not just here in Chicago, but just worldwide. Mm-hmm. They really, and the way he was able to reinvent himself from columnist, from old crotchety columnist to old crotchety radio host was pretty amazing. But Jay had a lot of good things to say about him, and I think one of the biggest compliments I ever got from anyone recently is Jay had said, "Man, if you and Terry got to know each other, you guys would have been great friends." I'm like, well, that means the world to me, because I considered Terry a friend, like you said, because he was just so genuine, and the man he was when the microphone was on is the man he was when the microphone was off, and you could tell.
Yeah, and there's been people in Chicago media in our lifetimes, like him, like Lynn Bremer, like Mike Royko, Studs Terkel, just all these people that have just, like I said, they're so woven into the fabric of the city of Chicago. And, you go back a little bit further, and like James Baldwin, just all these people, it's just, you put it all together and it makes that delicious stew that is Chicago.
Yep. I think we can throw Tom Skilling into that list of people.
Oh yeah.
Not a journalist, but he's an icon.
Yeah. Everybody loves Tom Skilling.
Him and Bob Rohrman.
I actually have a funny story. I will not name names, but I do know somebody who one night in a mischievous mood came into possession of a Grimace costume and went up and rang Bob Rohrman's doorbell. And Bob answered the door to see my friend there in a Grimace costume.
So I'm going to assume Bob Rohrman Not
was not amused.
not a recurring member of the NRA, or else Grimace would have had his guts slapped all over the concrete.
So anyway, but anyway, let's get into now. We can get into our usual dumb fuckery.
Yeah, because Grimace and Bob Warman wasn't dumb fuckery enough. Let's start talking about it.
Oh,
there's a 50.
Fortunately, I don't think the guy in the Grimace suit listens to the podcast. So I think we're in the clear. But you know who you are.
There's some 15-year-old kid that just stumbled upon us by accident going, who the fuck is Bob Warman and Grimace?
Anyway, top news. The top news of the day is our young Nick Lardis, who I have been dying to see skate with Connor Bedard, got sent to Rockford.
Yes. It was a weird day at practice today, just because last night's game against the Panthers, the lines were weird and constantly changing. And the power play had been so bad where Jeff Blashill had said he's probably going to tinker some things. So it was one of those days where, and Teuvo Teravainen was getting healthy. So it was one of those days where we actually paid attention to what was going on at practice. Usually, a late January practice, you just show up, make sure everybody's on the ice, and then wait to get in the locker room to ask whatever mundane question you have to whatever poor sucker isn't fast enough to get out of the locker room. And
well, now next time you could ask who has a Grimace costume. Do you have a Grimace costume by any chance?
It was Brandon Bolig, wasn't it? You didn't say no. But anyway, so we paid attention today, and Teuvo Teravainen back out of the non-contact jersey. And last night after the game on the CHGO post-game show, we were talking about the lines and what works, and I had mentioned that, a lot of coaches, including Jeff Blashill, thinks lines necessarily aren't trios. It should be pairs. You should find 4 pairs of guys that work really well together, and that third guy can be interchanged. So I had said, well, you have Lardis and Moore as a pair. Well, you had that at that point. Mm-hmm. Dickinson and Mikheyev, obvious pair. And Slaggert and Foligno, probably you could put down. Those guys have worked well together. So I'm like, well, you need to have Bedard's pair needs to be somebody that could take faceoffs for the time being. So why not Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard on the same line? And then if Teuvo's healthy, you can throw him in there. And voila, that's what we had at practice today. Andre Burakovsky was pushed down to the third line, which might not be far enough down, but at least it's a start. So Lardis was taking every other shift on the Bedard line. So I was thinking, okay, maybe he's just taking that spot there in case Teuvo's not ready to come back. And maybe Burakovsky's going to get scratched because Lardis would then just slide in with Moore and Green, who he's been playing with. And then they did the power play drills, and Lardis wasn't on either power play. And then when Jeff Blashill was asked about, what he thought about Lardis after practice, he started speaking in past tenses. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, he's totally getting sent down. And sure enough, he was this afternoon. I don't hate it. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to have him in Rockford for the Olympic break. You don't want him sitting around for 3 weeks doing nothing.
Yeah, and I think some other guys are going to get sent down before the roster freeze too.
Yeah, I could see, maybe Landon Slaggert going down and playing just because he missed so much training camp and he's just getting himself to where he needs to be. And, no game action for 3 weeks is probably not a great idea. Other than that, I don't know. I wouldn't send Oliver Moore. I wouldn't at this point. I think he's an NHL guy. Give him the break.
Well, that's the other thing. Do they ever tell you who's gotten the letters? No. You got the letters saying, "Hey, you can move out of the hotel."
No, they don't divulge that information to us. But I I think that Oliver Moore is not in a hotel anymore.
Okay.
I think he lives in the same building as some other people of his same age group.
Okay.
So that's what I've heard. I don't know for sure. I don't really research that stuff, to be honest with you, but I think he is a permanent resident of the city of Chicago now.
Okay.
So I don't mind the Lardis move. You know, he's been, I'm going to be honest with you, his overall game has been a hell of a lot more than I expected. Like I figured he's just going to be a one-trick pony and a guy just find a spot in the ice and shoot, which he does. But, you know, he's played much better defensively than I ever thought, willing to, you know, go to the boards, willing to finish a check, willing to go between the dots. Saw more of that than I ever expected.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, and the other thing too is I kept hearing how small he was, and I was like, he didn't look that small to me.
He's definitely a lot bigger than he was on draft day because I remember we were down there covering the Nashville draft, and you know they had the media up on the arena floor. Excuse me, and then down downstairs in the arenas where they would bring the draft picks in to the podiums for interviews. And that was a draft where the Blackhawks had like 5 picks in like a half an hour because they just had all those second and third round picks.
Yeah.
So poor Jay was just standing at the podium, just waiting for the next Blackhawks guy to come up. And Nick Lardis shows up. And Jay texts me, goes, somebody's like kid in a Blackhawks jersey sitting. I'm like, no, that's the guy they just drafted. I'm like, this is seriously a 12-year-old child. Who is this?
Yeah, but he doesn't look short. He doesn't look slight.
No, I mean he's right there with Bedard and Nazar as far as size, and so I was impressed with his first stint, and you know if it wasn't for the Bedard and Nazar injuries, I don't think he would have got called up anyways.
Probably not. But the other thing too is now, like you said, he can go down there, he can skate first line, PP1, all that good stuff. They might even ask him, they might even say, hey, stick him on a PK unit and let's get him some burn there and see what we got. And we'll get into the trade deadline in a minute, but I think once the trade deadline comes and goes, I think you'll see Rockford empty out.
Yeah, I mean, you put him down there for the break. I think it'd be much better for him playing, 19 minutes a night on the top line and the top power play unit than playing 11 minutes a night on the Blackhawks third line.
Yeah.
He could take what he learned about his, the NHL and take it down to the AHL and fine tune it. And then keep him on the roster through the trade deadline because then he'll be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, probably by the deadline, there'll be some spots open and, he can come back up and play a bigger role. I did love last night, Sunday night against Florida, that 5 of the top 6 forwards were 22 or younger last night, with Andre Burakovsky being the only veteran. And he's played himself right out of the top 6, and rightfully so. Yeah,
I think he's gone from being a guy that could be like a veteran top 6 guy next year to being trade bait.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. 1 year, $5 million is not the end of the world for a guy like that, considering how weak the free agency class is going to be this summer. That makes him a little more valuable. And the Hawks could always eat $1 million or $2 million on that if they need to. They're going to have nothing but cap space next year, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I still don't know what's holding up the Bedard extension. I'd have thought it would have gotten done by now, simply because money's not an issue, term's not an issue.
Yeah.
And I would love to talk to an agent just to find out, like, how does the process work? Like, does the player, I'm sure the player and the agent talk about what do you want to do, And then once the agent knows what the player wants, he can then go to call Kyle Davis and say, okay, Kyle, here's what my guy wants. He wants to. So in the case of Connor Bedard, is he looking for something just to bridge him into UFA, or is he looking for the full 8 years?
Well, they have till July 1st to get the 8-year done,
Yes.
right? Because then the new
If they want 8
CBA
years,
kicks in.
if they want 8 years, it's got to be before July 1.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see something done during the Olympic break, because you have time to sit there and talk.
Especially if he's not going.
And I don't think he's going to. Even with the Braden Point injury, it doesn't sound like they're. I think, and let's face it, the way he's played since coming back from his injury is not exactly, making Canada make that call. I think they'll bring somebody else to that, even though Point is a good comparison to Bedard. Like when Tom Wilson got hurt and people thought, oh, maybe Bedard. I'm like, no, that's probably Sam Bennett, because you're going to want to replace what Tom Wilson brings with a guy that does Tom Wilson things. Well, Braden Point is a undersized goal scoring center, right-handed. That's that's Connor Bedard. But they've got so many guys to choose from, and it just seems that they're just not interested for whatever reason.
And it's, from my standpoint, it's like, look, Connor Bedard, this is the last time he won't be on the Olympics for a while, on the Olympic team for a while.
And that's fine, because it's like, let him have that chip on his shoulder every time he plays the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Me. Yeah. Just like, Cole Caulfield is going to score 1 million goals against Bill Guerin in the Minnesota Wild for the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. Jason Robertson is going to single-handedly eliminate the Wild in the first round of the playoffs this year because he didn't get picked. So these guys won't forget that. So you know what? Having Connor Bedard play with a chip on his shoulder for the next 3.5 years, I'm okay with that.
My friend Oleg is relentless in his desire to have Robertson be a Blackhawk.
I would absolutely love that, because I think he's a fantastic hockey player. I don't see any scenario where that happens, though.
Yeah, Dallas is not going to trade him to Chicago. If Kyle Davidson was crazy enough to throw an offer sheet at him, Dallas would match.
Yeah, but at least if you do that, you can force them into giving him more than they want to, and then maybe costing them to have to say goodbye to a guy they otherwise want to keep.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what happened for those of you that remember after the 2010 Cup. That was basically what San Jose did, was they signed Nicholas Hjalmarsson to an offer sheet, and which there was no way the Blackhawks weren't going to match that, but then it cost them Antti Niemi, which wound up being fine because they had Corey Crawford ready to go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was the right call, obviously. Even though, it's tough to say goodbye to the goaltender that won you your first cup in 49 years, but in hindsight, that was a no-brainer to make there. That's Olympic stuff will be interesting to see, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bedard gets his deal done before the break is over. Because why not? You got plenty of time to talk about it. Just hash it out, figure it out.
Yeah. And like I said, I know I am too lazy to look on Puckpedia right now to see who Bedard's agent is, but I'm sure they've already had the conversation. I'm sure there's already been at least a preliminary conversation with Kyle Davidson. I mean,
for sure. There's no doubt.
Because there's so much cap space that there's really no reason. It's not like Kyle has to have other things happen first. He can just go ahead and sign Bedard. And one of the things that I know the Blackhawks are going to do is something similar to what Florida has and some other teams have, where you're like, okay, this guy will always be our highest paid guy. And, it doesn't matter who comes up. It doesn't matter what you do. And especially after this season, he's going to be the captain. So this is our captain. This is our guy. This is what he makes. Nobody goes over that number.
Yeah, that's a sound plan. Greg Landry is Connor Bedard's agent, by the way.
Okay.
Former Chicago Bears offensive coordinator Greg Landry. Different Greg Landry.
I was going to say, yeah. Greg Landry, son of Tom Landry.
Always has a good hat on.
Yeah, maybe it's Greg. Who knows? Maybe it's Didn't Greg Landry play quarterback for the Bears for a little bit?
Maybe.
I remember him with the Lions for a while. I always thought it was funny they never played for the Cowboys. But anyway.
Yeah, so the Bedard stuff, I bet you the Hawks probably had an offer at the beginning of the season and Bedard wasn't interested, and then Bedard got off to that hot start. They came back with a counter offer, and the Hawks like, we don't want to do that just yet either. So they got to find that middle ground. They'll get it done. There's no, need for it to get done today, but it would be nice just to have that in your back pocket, and maybe Bedard isn't interested in 8 years, and that's what the holdup is. So now they're trying to find that.
It could be if the Hawks want to lock him up for 8, and he might only want 5.
But Bedard doesn't. I mean, that would be his agent's call. Like I don't think Connor Bedard puts any serious thought into this. He hired his agent to be his agent thing. He just wants to play hockey. He's just like, tell me where and when to sign, and I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be there's conversations around it. At some point, you do have you can't just let your client be a mindless machine. You've got to explain to him, okay, here are the benefits of a 5-year deal, here are the benefits of an 8-year deal, and go over. You have to have that conversation. It's no different than, I'm not a financial wizard, but I do have somebody that handles our IRAs, and I talk to them once every few months and just make sure we're still on the same sheet of music. And, I'm not talking about the type of money Connor Bedard has.
Right. Or he's going to have.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to be a very wealthy young man here as soon as he signs that deal.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Oh, yeah.
They did a fun thing today in the locker room with the social media team. They're always getting them to do these fun little games as they come off the ice to put up on the TikToks and all that stuff. And today they had a PowerPoint presentation called People We Don't Think Our Players Can Name. And it was like a long list, like just pictures of random celebrities. Most of them, I had no idea who they were just because they were like current celebrities. And I don't know, but they had a picture of Abraham Lincoln in there. And they had a picture of Jeff Blashill from when he was at Ferris State with a full head of hair, and nobody knew that was Jeff Blashill. So that's
really funny.
Their reaction to finding out that was Jeff Blashill is, I'm assuming that's going to be, in the social media video they released. But it was kind of fun because it was Bedard, Nazar, and Moore doing it together. The Three Musketeers there. Those guys are kind of inseparable these days.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing. Well, you said that they were skating together, so we'll see. We'll see if those guys can gel on the ice. Because right now, Nazar hasn't been really scoring. He hasn't been getting on the score sheet since he's been back. Bedard has one empty net goal, and I love that empty net goal because he went bar down. Did he go top shelf or bar down? And I just remember
bar down on it, yeah. He almost
I
missed
remember thinking, oh, if that had sailed over the crossbar, that would have been the longest walk back to the clubhouse he ever would have had.
Yeah. No, I like the Nazar Bedard thing. Why not? They played together a little bit last year.
Yeah.
And two guys, as you said, that need to get their offense going. So why not do it together? They've trained enough. They know each other's tendencies, and then you get a responsible veteran like Teuvo Teravainen with them, who can keep up with them and who can get them the puck in areas that other guys on the team can't. and can play some defense. So I think that's a good combination.
And they have got to. I sound like one of the meatballs in the 300 section. Shoot it, but damn it,
Yeah.
shoot it. I don't know how many times in the last week I saw those guys come down the ice and try to make that one extra cute pass, and nothing comes of it. It's like, throw the puck at the net. A goal off a rebound costs the same as a tic-tac goal does.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sign of a struggling offense of, trying for that extra pass because you have no confidence in your shot. So you're going to try and make a perfect play to get a perfect one-timer because that's the only way you feel you could score. But when they had that 5-1-on-1 stretch right out of the holiday break, they did it by playing the exact opposite way of just being simple and north-south and winning puck battles and just simple shots with guys in front. And they went away I was worried that this was going to happen when Bedard got back, and it's exactly what has happened, that they've gone away from what works because they got their two young dynamic players back, so we're just going to let them do it all. That just doesn't work.
No, not at all. And again, going back to Nick Lardis. Lardis was, you can add up all the time the puck spends on Nick Lardis' stick in a game. It comes up to under a minute. He does not hold the puck. He does not dangle the puck. He doesn't think with the puck. He just fires it. And you've got to have guys like that.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, when you're not scoring, don't stop trying to make it pretty. Just throw it on net and see what happens. If you're not scoring anyway, fuck it. What do you got to lose?
Right. Yeah, it's this team seems to go through these stretches where it's just like they refuse to shoot. We saw it earlier, and then all of a sudden they simplified their game and they were playing, had more of a shoot first mentality. And now they're back to, pass. It's infuriating. And if we're this frustrated, I can't imagine what the coaching staff is going through with this stuff. I mean, if we're, noticing it and we're yelling about it, they've got to be just screaming internally on the bench. Like, ugh. But you mentioned the puck not being on sticks very long. That's a sign of a true goal scorer. I remember this has to be about 10 years ago, right when advanced stats were really starting to take hold and people were starting to pay attention to it. There was I don't remember Jen LC. She she was doing a project and she'd asked me to help her out. Well, basically she was assigning players, and I was to watch every goal James Neal scored that season. I think this is when Neal was still on the Penguins. Mm-hmm. He had scored 36 or 38 goals that year, and my job was to watch every one of his goals, and track the type of play. How was it off a face-off? How many passes were made to get it? And one of the things I had to do was, with a stopwatch, time how long he had the puck before shooting it. And I'll never forget this number. For his 38 goals that season, he averaged his puck on his stick for 0.7 seconds.
Yep.
Per goal. Just boom, got rid of it. And that's a sign of a real goal scorer.
And that's what you've got in Nick Lardis.
Yeah. I mean, that needs to be contagious because there's so many times where guys just get the puck, settle the puck, shift around, and by then the goalie sees the puck, and you're not scoring. Just get it there as quickly as possible. Catch a goalie off by surprise. That Jason Dickinson goal against Winnipeg in the 2-0 game. That was the type of goal you had, especially for a guy like Connor Hellebuyck. He just knocked the puck down and bam, shot it, caught him off guard.
Hellebuyck never saw that.
Well, he wasn't expecting it, and that's why it got by him, because otherwise, if he was expecting it, he would have stopped it.
Yeah. And, when you can score goals like that, that leads to, I don't know where in the hell that goal Connor Murphy scored came from.
That was awesome. That was the Sam Lafferty special.
It's like, I love Connor Murphy. I will be sorry to see him go. I hope if he goes somewhere, somebody passes the cup to him. But I texted you right after that goal. Who knew he had that in him? That looked like something from the Taves tribute video.
It was awesome play where there are two amazing plays by defensemen this week. There was the Connor Murphy goal,
mm-hmm.
and then there was that was the Carolina game, right? The Murphy goal. Then there was the Louis Crevier shootout goal against Vasilevsky.
Yeah,
it was just smooth as butter, just so where it was one of those moments where people are like, why is he picking? Oh, that's why he picked Louis Crevier. Louis Crevier's got a shot.
Oh yeah, he's got a rocket. And I was like, Crevier? It was like I was thinking Crevier before Moore. I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, he got it in.
Yeah, we've seen Louis Crevier a lot in practice when they do the shootouts. Like when he picked them to go a couple weeks ago, the first time, and everybody was losing their mind. I was like, I'm not surprised because Louis Crevier scores a lot at practice. He's got some moves, and he almost scored on that first one.
Yeah.
That was the which game was that? Where he just missed over the top of the bar. Was that the Washington game?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't remember which game, but I remember. Yeah, he just sailed it.
It was the Washington game in Washington that went to the shootout. Yeah, he beat what's his face, Logan Thompson, and just missed the crossbar. Logan Thompson, by the way, Canadian Olympic goalie, probably should be their number one. I will never forget covering the 2024 Las Vegas NHL draft in the Sphere. And Logan Thompson is in the lobby signing Vegas Golden Knight photos of himself as he gets traded to the Washington Capitals. Was literally signing Vegas Golden Knight photographs as Vegas trades him to Washington. That was such a surreal moment.
That's pretty great. But yeah, the one thing I'd love to see, and Crevier is the guy who could do it too. See somebody do the Marian Hossa shootout.
Yeah, just blast it.
Just blast it from between the circles.
Yep.
Have that moment where have that moment where the goalie just sees his life flash before his eyes.
Go for it, man. Somebody needs to do that. It worked for Hossa.
Oh yeah, Hossa was great at that, especially when you had, you had Taves would always go 5-hole. Kane would always do the slow it down and dangle, and then Hossa would just come and fire it.
It worked.
So
those are the shots are good when the goalie knows it's coming and still can't stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the other thing we should probably start talking a little bit about the trade deadline because it's pretty clear that the Blackhawks are going to be sellers at this point. They can't get any closer than every time they get to 5 points from the wild card, they lose a game or two and fall back down. And they're looking right now like they're going to be in the 5 or 6 spot for the lottery.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a better year than last year. They're still averaging almost a point per game. So hopefully even after the deadline, they'll still wind up in the 70s somewhere. Last year they had 61 points. They've already got, 50?
50. They got 50 Friday night against Tampa. Last season, they didn't get their 50th point till game 71 at the end of March.
Yeah.
So they're going to get close to 80 points, maybe more, depending on, what happens after the deadline. It's already a big improvement. You're going to be hovering around a 20-point improvement this season, which is so difficult to do in the NHL, is to go, to improve by 20 points. So I don't think Kyle Davidson has any, illusions that this is a playoff team.
No,
He's not going to give up assets to add somebody just so the Colorado Avalanche can hand you your ass in 4 games.
no.
Just that makes zero sense.
And it goes against everything he's been doing for years.
Right. So, you've got some guys that should draw interest. Jason Dickinson is a guy that, like a team like the Edmonton Oilers just screams they could use a Jason Dickinson, or even Colorado, or maybe a reunion in Dallas. Those are the type of guys those teams go out and get at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect him to get traded. You mentioned Connor Murphy. That seems like a no-brainer.
Well, with a guy like Murphy, it depends on what he wants.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a no trade.
He doesn't, but I think it will be they'll go to him first and say, hey, you want to do this?
Yeah.
And I think he will.
And like Nick Foligno, the only way I could see Nick Foligno, I don't know if he has a no trade. I don't know if the Hawks are actually going to aggressively shop him. But like if the Minnesota Wild calls and says, hey, we're interested in Nick Foligno, they'll go to him and say, Nick, the Wild called. You want to go chase a cup with your brother?
Yeah. No, Foligno, to me, the only way he gets traded is if Foligno says, hey, I want to chase a cup.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think he's very comfortable and very happy with, where he's at. And especially this season. I think this season has been a lot more fun for him, just because of, even though he's captain, I think there's less pressure on him now because he's got a coaching staff that does a lot better job at communicating than the previous coaching staff. So it's not on his shoulders as captain to be the pseudo head coach and make sure the messaging is getting through. Now he can just kind of focus more on playing, and he's got no problem letting these kids take over the team. That's what he's here to do, to help them do just that. And he's doing a good job. So, and I know his family loves the city of Chicago, and he's been dealing with the health situation with his daughter. So he's probably more than content playing out the year, but.
And I also think that part of the conversation will be, whatever happens, when you're ready, you are part of this organization. He will come back to the Blackhawks in some capacity.
I think so. The organization loves him. The top brass are big fans of Nick Foligno. So if he wants to be a broadcaster, if he wants to, hang out with Chris Kunitz and just make passes at practice all day. If he wants to be a front office guy and scout, whatever he wants to do, he'll have that spot if he chooses to do it.
Maybe give him a year or two as a player development guy and then let him get behind the bench as an assistant coach.
Yeah, unless he wants to buy the Sudbury Wolves, maybe he'll he's an Ontario boy, born and bred, and you can take the boy out of Ontario, but you can't take the Ontario out of the boy.
Nope, not at all.
But those are the 3 top guys I would think. And you're not going to get a huge return. I think you might be able to squeeze a third for Jason Dickinson if he proves he can stay healthy.
Well, the other thing too with Kyle Davidson is if you look at the number of draft picks they have for this year, it might be something where, does he want a 3 this year or maybe a 2 next year? Because he's got a full house. He's got 2 1s and 3 2s. And that those 3 2s at some point are going to be bundled. Well, I could see him either taking one of the 2s and bundling it with the Florida pick to move up, and then maybe taking those other 2 2s and moving up into the first round to have 3 first-round picks. I can see that's what Kyle Davidson clearly likes. He would rather have 3 picks in the first round and none in the second than have 2 and 3.
Yeah, he wants as many picks in the top 32 as possible. After that, he doesn't care. And it's not a bad philosophy. It's been working so far.
And also, the third round's kind of been his sandbox. He's been taking guys in the third round that he doesn't need to rush. He doesn't need to worry about rushing those guys. He can take his time with those guys. Lardis is a third round pick. Next year AJ Spellacy is going to be on the Hawks. He's a third round pick. I would not be surprised if at some point John Mustard at least gets a look with the Hawks. Probably not next year, but some of these third round picks, they're Lardis is kind of an outlier. He's much better. He's performed much better than you would expect a third round pick to perform.
Yeah, for sure. He's a guy that if you redraft that draft, he's probably a late first rounder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any of these drafts, if you redraft him, like Mark Van Acker, who, he was a late first rounder and he would probably have gone a lot higher, but people were worried about his shoulder.
Right.
So,
you look at the third round picks. This past year, he took Nathan Beam, has the most points of all Blackhawks prospects this season.
Yeah, that's really weird. I thought he looked okay in camp. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this outburst. And he may be.
No, go ahead.
He may be a very crankable hog next year.
Hey, we like our hogs crankable. 2024 was 3 third round picks. That's when you got John Mustard, you got AJ Spellacy, and you got Jack Pridham, who is second in OHL scoring right now.
I know.
There are 2 players in the OHL that have scored more than 30 goals this year, and they both are Blackhawk draft picks.
Yeah, Pridham was, we've talked about Jack Pridham. He's going to go to BU this year, want to play closer to home. Now he's committed to BU for the upcoming year, but he's going to be 21 next season. So, there's a chance that the Hawks might just tell him, hey, you want to go pro?
Yeah. Maybe we'll see. Hindsight's 2020, but maybe not going to BU is the right call. We all kind of question, but BU, to their standards, are having a little bit of a down year.
Yeah.
They got swept over the weekend by Providence.
By a big part
John Mustard.
And Sasha Boisvert was sitting out of suspension.
Right. For his fight. That is a no in NCAA. Yep. But again, third round picks. The only one that is a kind of a swing and a miss so far is Yuri Fleischman in the 2023. 2022, his first draft, he had 3 first-round picks. It was Gavin Hayes, Samuel Savoie, and Aiden Thompson, 3 guys who are contributors for the Ice Hogs right now. Yeah, 3 crankable hogs.
3 very crankable hogs. In fact, you might see 1 or 2 of those guys get the call after the deadline because they will probably need forwards when all is said and done.
Well, yeah. Lardis will come back. And I got to see how long it takes Anton Frondel to get over.
Yeah.
Because the deadline's going to be right about where the Swedish Hockey League regular season ends. And there's no guarantee that his team's making the postseason. They're one of those teams that are right there battling for that last spot. So if they don't make the playoffs, he can come right over. If they do make the playoffs, they're likely going to be a quick exit. So
yeah,
he's a guy that's going to be basically their trade deadline acquisition this year is bringing him into the mix.
And I'd kind of like to see Savoie get a shot just because, get a yappy guy up.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt anything. You're kind of running towards the end of the Colton Dock experiment. So maybe, he's not as big as Colton Dock, but he's definitely just as physical, if not more physical
Well,
than he
I
is.
think the Colton Dock experiment comes to an end the second
Yeah.
AJ Spellacy season ends, basically. It's
Yeah,
because
if I was Colton Dock and I watched the World Juniors this year, I'd be very nervous.
yeah, Spellacy is a much better version of Colton Dock.
Yeah, I mean, and Jeff Blashill is a big fan of Colton Dock. At least he was at the beginning of the year. But he's been a healthy. They tried to healthy scratch him 3 times in 5 games. In all 3 games, somebody got hurt or somebody got sick.
Hurt or sick.
Bedard got sick the first time. Then it was Burakovsky got sick, and then it was Dickinson got sick. All 3 of those games he's gonna be scratched. So, was he running around? Did they search his locker for X-Lax every time he was the extra skater? He put a bunch of X-Lax in somebody's Gatorade bottle, make sure he's got back in the lineup.
Okay, I need to get Travis Horn on Instagram. Say, hey, okay, for next season of Shoresy, I got something for you.
The unscratchable player, because
the unscratchable player with the box of laxatives in his locker.
I mean, 1 time, fine. Twice, okay. 3 times, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on and thinking something's going on here. So they must have confiscated his X-Lax because they actually scratched him the other night.
Yeah. Either that or somebody else filled up his locker with Imodium.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I like Colton Dock. He's a good kid and he's got potential there, but I think with what's coming over the next couple of years, he's just going to get pushed further and down the list there. And that was, you look back at that draft, that was Stan Bowman's last draft, and for a while they were like, hey, he's done pretty good with his last draft, because you had Nolan Allen, who was looking like he was going to be an NHL guy, still might, too crowded here in Chicago, but that was a pick that didn't need to be made 32nd overall. No. He was a guy that could have gone 3rd round. Nolan Allen gets picked, and early 2nd round, you got guys like Owen Zellweger and Josh Jones getting picked pretty quickly after that. Those guys would have been better picks. And Colton Dock was a guy in the 2nd round. He wasn't a 2nd rounder. You could have got him. You could have got Allen and Dock in the 3rd and 4th round that draft.
Yeah.
And that draft was looking pretty good, and for a while there, because you had Allen, you had Doc, you had Ethan Del Mastro, who still might be something. And then now all of a sudden it's like, not a whole lot going on there. It's actually his 2nd to last class. The 2020 class might be the best draft Stan Bowman ever had. But you also got to remember, Kyle Davidson was part of that staff putting together those drafts too. 2020 was Lucas Reichel. That was a bust. But 2nd round was Drew Comezzo. 3rd round was Landon Slaggert and Wyatt Kaiser, 2 guys who are contributing to this team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had 5th round was Isaac Phillips, who, you got some NHL games out of. And then the 7th round in 2020, we've already talked about him, Louis Crevier. That's a pretty damn good draft, especially for Stan Bowman's standards.
And another Blackhawks draft pick we should probably talk about is our good friend Kevin Korchinski, who he's going to be 22 in June. We're running out of runway here to keep saying, oh well, he's young, and defensemen don't develop that quickly. Especially he was a number 7 overall pick, and then 2-3 picks behind him in the draft, you had Pavel Mintyukov. Mintyukov. I can never say his name. The Russian guy. The Russian guy from the Ducks.
That guy. That Russian guy there over there.
Yeah, that Russian guy over by Disneyland.
that Pavel guy over there. He's from the Russia.
So yeah, I think he's starting to get into that Henry Yoki territory of, some team will give you something for him thinking that they can fix him.
Yeah, I don't know if the Hawks are there yet. That was Kyle Davidson's first pick ever.
Yeah.
Got that pick by trading away Alex DeBrincat, so I think he's going to give Kevin Korchinski every single opportunity to prove him right before moving on. And I just don't know how much trade value there is for him right now. Never sell low.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. He might be a guy that we see after the deadline for a little bit.
Yeah,
Connor.
especially if Murphy and Grzelcyk both get traded. Right there's your spots for Rinzel and Korchinski.
Right, and Korchinski got the emergency call up when everybody was sick and didn't go so good for him. But that was a weird situation. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, he was thrown into that. I mean, we've seen him playing at Rockford. He's been pretty good at Rockford. He's like a point every other game in Rockford, which is, that's good for defensemen. If you can get a 40-point defenseman in the NHL, you take that and say thanks.
Oh, absolutely. So to me, it's still too early to throw in a towel on Kevin Korchinski, but we're going to need to see something soon.
Yeah.
He'll probably get the Philip Kurashev 2-year prove it deal. And we'll see what happens. But as we've seen with Kyle Davidson, he knows when it's time to move on, and he'll pull the trigger.
Yeah.
He will not say, "Oh, we're gonna give him another." We saw it with Philip Kurashev. We saw it with Lucas Reichel, where it's like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Lucas Reichel probably got a little bit too long, but the talent was there. We saw it with Nolan Allen a few weeks ago. Like, he knows when to cut bait, and so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Kevin Korchinski.
And we'll see if he can get any takers on Arvid Soderblom probably over the summer.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. He's just as good as he was against Tampa, but that guy only shows up once every 8 or 9 games. Yeah, and then,
I was being more generous than you.
Well, I mean, the guy's got over 100 NHL games in his career, and he's got a sub 900 save percentage. He is what he is at this point.
Yeah. He could be an AHL goalie.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse jobs you can have in this world than being a career AHL goalie. You could be Dustin Tokarski, and every couple of years you get a couple starts in the NHL.
Yeah, and Drew Comezzo's earned a shot.
Yeah,
and maybe for all we know, Comezzo's going to be another Soderblom. Comezzo might be here for a couple of years and be sub 900. Fine, then Adam Guyan gets the shot, or Berezhnoi gets the shot. Right now there is a line of goalies all waiting. You don't have to stick with one too long.
No. And I'm of the theory that you should draft a goalie every year.
Oh yeah, and
use your 6. They've not exclusively, but they've done it. I think 3 out of the last 4 years they've drafted a goalie. Especially when your head of scouting, Mike Donahue, is a goalie, you'd think you'd draft more. But draft a goalie every year. Use your 6th, 7th round pick for a goalie, and see what happens. They say in the NFL, draft a quarterback every year. Draft a goalie every year, and you can never have too many of them. Because if you do get 3 or 4 NHL quality goalies in your system, you've got amazing trade chips, because everybody needs a goalie.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you've got Comezzo and you got Berezhnoi in Rockford. Guyan, I would be surprised to see him go pro.
Yeah, I think he'll go to a third year of college.
I think so.
He'll be
And
advised to, for sure.
and you'd like to see Konarski get into the KHL
Yeah, yeah,
and see what he can do there. You know,
yeah. I mean, that guy, he's 2, 3, 4 years away before even discussing him coming to North America, which is fine. I mean, that's why you draft goalies in the 7th round, so you can give them 4, 5, 6 years before they're even in the conversation. Yeah, I'd be super surprised if Guyan is not back at Duluth next season. You know, there's just, especially for goalies, more college you have, the better, because you get just so much more practice time and so much more time in the weight room than you do playing pro or playing juniors. That's why I think we're seeing so many college defensemen come right in from college to pros and be really good right away. Because just that extra time at the rink and honing your craft is so important at that age.
Yeah, you know, the old if it's and buts for candies and nuts with Korchinski. You know, what if Korchinski had gone to college? You know, he was right in that bad spot because they weren't letting CHL guys go to college yet, and he had to spend his age 19 year with the Blackhawks. If you left him in Seattle with the Thunderbirds for another year, you know, what would he have done? He might have had a 100-point season, but it wouldn't have helped his development at all. If anything, it would have put more pressure on him for being a 100-point defenseman in junior.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like the saying, you know, everything in life is timing, and he got shafted with the timing of his draft year. Had that happen, you know, a couple years later, he could have transferred, gone to college. He could have played, you know, wherever, Minnesota, BU, North Dakota, anywhere, wherever he wanted to go. He would have had a spot waiting for him. And but
we can't dwell on that.
No. And I think with Korchinski, now that you have Rinzel and Levshunov, I think that takes a lot of pressure off of him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to be the number one defenseman anymore.
No. And, you know, especially Vlasic's been so good on the left side that he doesn't have to worry about that either. You know, he's not gonna be a top pair guy, you know, because on the right side, I mean, and Crevier has been much better than any of us ever expected.
And Wyatt Kaiser has been, this season, man. Whew, he's been so good this year. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit as he deserves. Just his overall game, his offensive game has been better. He's so good at using his body to shield pucks and using the correct angles to get to the spot on the ice he needs to be at. And and he's essentially been a babysitter for Artie Levshunov all season. He's done a pretty good job at that. So, you know,
Levshunov makes some mistakes, but you know, you could, you know, like I said about Korchinski, you could see the good defenseman in there trying to get out, and Levshunov, the good defenseman, comes out a lot of nights.
Yeah,
there's a lot of nights he's the best defenseman the Hawks have. Yeah,
there was that play last night against Florida where he kind of passed it to himself around Nika Mikkola and then got himself a one-on-one chance. Man, if he would have buried that chance, that would have been
highlight reels for the rest of the year.
That would have been in the pregame hype video just before the Blackhawks take the ice for warm-ups for the next decade. That goal, just like there's probably in Colorado still showing Cale Makar destroying poor Kirby Doc's groin in overtime a couple of years ago.
All right, so we're getting to the hour mark, so we should probably start wrapping this up. We got 3 games on the docket in the upcoming week. They're on the road in Minnesota tomorrow, unless the Twin Cities get nuked between tonight and tomorrow.
Always a possibility.
And then they get to go into Pittsburgh, and then they're home for the Blue Jackets Friday night. So it'll be another blackout night.
Yeah. if you could somehow get a point out of this Minnesota game, and you get 4 points out of that stretch of 4 games between Carolina, Tampa, Florida, and Minnesota, I mean, I think you're doing backflips.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's one of the things. They're still at the point where, they're looking. This is all yardstick stuff. It's all how much better are they than last year? How much better are they than they were at the beginning of the season? That's what you're measuring everything against. They're not ready to be measured against the best teams in the league yet. They're not one. But they've got a shot here, and like I said before, they've still got a shot at 80 points on the season, which would be great. That would be certainly more than I thought they were capable of when the season started.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody predicting 80 points this season.
No.
Myself included. Everybody was around 72 to 75 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And
got a cat walking behind me.
Yeah, is that like the Sandman Sims from Showtime at the Apollo? That's your key
pretty much.
Get off stage.
Pretty much.
Somebody's dinner time.
Yeah, well, I am the feeding human.
I know how that is. Yes.
Yeah, and my wife is downstairs cooking dinner for the humans, and so right now this cat doesn't have a lap to sit on. And she needs some human to do her bidding somehow. She is our feline overlord, one of our feline overlords. So anyway, thank you all for listening, our 16,666 listeners.
Yep, we've been cranking hogs a lot of this episode, so let's crank an organ on our way out. And
all right.
We'll see everybody next time in the second balcony. Hopefully, we're going to start getting this done on a weekly basis now that we've got schedules kind of freeing up. So as long as you're subscribed, they'll tell you when another episode posts. So we'll see everybody next time.
Play us out, Al.